So welcome to Lunchtime with a Librarian. My name is Mary Bear Shannon. I am a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library, and I am here today with my colleague, Megan White Marley. She is a library assistant. She works at our circulation desk, and we wanted to interview Megan so that many of you who see her on a daily basis will get to know her a little bit better. And I'm sure many of you actually recognize her because she is on the front lines. So welcome, Megan. Thank you so much for being a part of this today.
You're welcome, Mary. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. So let's start with some of our questions. Why don't you start with telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am Megan White Marley. I live here in Havertown, and I have lived here since I was a kid, though not in the same place. I have two sons, one in high school and one in middle school, and a dog who will surely join us during this interview.
It's interesting.
She likes to, once she sees that the door is closed, she will need to come in, see what's going on, make sure everything's okay. So we'll let her.
Okay. So what do you love most about working at the library?
Well, strangely, I have a long history with this particular library. Growing up in Havertown, I actually remember when this library did not have an addition. It was just the 1930s bank building. And I have vivid memories of the long wooden staircase with the big, thick, carved wooden banister going all the way up. And then I've always loved books, so I've always been a fan of the library. When I was in high school, right over at Haverford, I used to walk up the street to the library for my after-school job. I shelved books for, I guess, 3.5 years or so until I went away to college.
So you worked for the library when you were in high school?
I did.
Wow.
I sure did.
Now you've had this long career working for the library.
Yep. I came and I went, and I came and I went, and I came back. So,
well, we're glad you're here now. And what did you do before you came back this last time to the library?
Well, that was an exciting part of my life. I went to college in technical theater, and I worked for most of the theater companies in Philadelphia. But I worked full-time for People's Light and Theater Company, and I managed the costume shop for a long time, more than 10 years, not 20, but and then when I had my eldest son, I stopped working there full-time, but I continued to help out part-time in the costume shop for another 10 or 11 years. So that was a fun part of life. I dressed actors and did dress rehearsals, and it was all really strange and wonderful.
So what drew you to libraries?
Well, I love books. And I also particularly love, and I love old buildings, and I particularly love this old library building. And, my grandmother was a librarian for many, many years. And so I guess I always had it in my head that this was just a good place to be.
It was in your blood.
In my blood.
It was in your blood.
And, when you have a house full of two boys and a dog, it's fair to say that the library is always an oasis of calm when you leave your house.
Get some quiet.
Work. Right, Mary?
Quiet. As a mother of two boys myself, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just calm and lovely.
Calm and not chaotic.
And the books live there, so.
We like to be with the books.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, what are your favorite books?
Well, my very favorite book is Bel Canto by Anne Patchett, which my mother read and dropped off at my house one day many years ago and said, "This is the most Megan thing I've ever read in my life. So I bought it for you." So at this point, that's my favorite.
Okay. All right. And do you have a favorite genre in general?
Well, I like to read nonfiction.
Okay.
And I also like to read historical fiction. My mother was a history teacher, so I totally got that from her. But I just read Mosquito, and I can't remember the wonderful gentleman that wrote its name, but I just finished it and it was fantastic. And it's a history book about a bug. And it was fabulous.
It was very popular last year, so I remember when it came out. So
it reshapes your worldview sort of book. So I like nonfiction best right now.
Okay. And what were some of your favorite books growing up?
Well, funny thing is, my sister found a bunch of things that apparently I had left in my desk drawer at my parents' house, and she dropped them off to me about a year ago. And I just looked at them a couple minutes ago as they sit in a stack, still unmoved from the time she dropped them off. And there is a Beverly Cleary book. Mine was hardback and had a hot pink cover with black writing. And it's called The Luckiest Girl. And it's about a girl from Washington, and she spends a year going to high school with a family friend in California. And that was the book I read over and over again as a preteen, I guess. And I had another book named Ready Made Family, which took place in the 1930s and was about a girl named Hedwig who was a foster child and found a wonderful family. She and her brother and sister found a wonderful family, and historical fiction. I mean, not when it was written, but when I was reading it, it was.
From the actual 30s.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And aside from reading, what are some of your hobbies?
Well, I sew because that was part of my job in the costume shop. We're coming up
Our
on,
kids get good Halloween costumes.
they got the best Halloween costumes. This year, no one wants a Halloween costume because they are really too old, but I was disappointed. No one wanted me to make them a costume. But yes, they had wonderful costumes. So I sew, I read, I garden, and then I garden some more, and then I read a little more about gardening and go out and garden again. And
flowers or vegetables or both?
both.
Both. Okay.
Absolutely both. Right now, I want a compost bin. So there is a little bit of marital negotiation happening because I want to go out and have a bin where I can get rid of my scraps and have them cook themselves into the best soil in the world. So, yeah, what else do I love to do? I like to tell my children how to fix the world. And act like I expect them to actually do it. I don't know, what else do I like? I'll think of more things as time goes on.
So, are there places that you like to travel or visit when we could actually travel and visit things? And do you have anything on your bucket list?
I forever have a new place that I want to go to, except that when it comes right down to it, I think I really just want to go to Italy over and over and over again and just go to a separate part each time. I've never been to Sicily, so I've been thinking a lot about that lately. But then as time goes on, I realize I haven't been to Florence in quite a long time. And that maybe I have to go there, and then maybe I'd like to go to Bologna. I've never been to Bologna. So I get caught up in Italy time and time again.
What is it about Italy? Is it the architecture, the art, the food, the culture?
I think I speak Italian poorly, but I do speak it. And the Italians are willing to act like you speak Italian beautifully, even though I know I do not. I think they're flattered that I try so hard. But it's everything. It's, as a person who worked in the arts, I think I like a culture that invented that came up with the Renaissance all on their own. Like, to me, but it's all of it. It's the art, it's the architecture, it's the science, even. It's everything. And the food.
Yes.
You have to love Italian.
You can't forget the pasta.
Right. I mean, you can hate most kinds of food. I don't, but you could, but you would still like pasta. Yeah. You can do it.
So, we've been doing a lot of virtual programming since we started. Do you have a favorite that we have done here at the library?
Yes, indeed, I do. I liked Mary and Jen's herb show.
Herb Corner.
Herb Corner.
Okay.
That was my favorite because, again, food and gardening.
Right.
All my favorites.
Yeah, unfortunately that came to an end because Jennifer left. So
I know.
But it doesn't mean that we'll get resurrected. My herb garden is starting to look really bad because it's fall. So
that's sort of the heartbreak of gardening in general, is that it looks wonderful for so long, and then all of a sudden it's sad.
Well, and the hope that the great thing is that I do have some herbs that actually come back year after year. So it's always exciting that, you know, I don't have to start this huge thyme plant by, you know, from scratch. It'll come back and it'll be nice and lush. So
Yeah.
there are some other things
Oh,
that I've got to start over every year, like basil.
and I put my rosemary plant in my basement. I water it every other week, and it is probably 4 years old and it's still going. When it gets warm, it goes back out. I I don't understand.
I brought my basil, not my rosemary in, I think it was about a year ago, and I proceeded to kill it just like that. So yeah, it's bad.
I think mine is still alive because I put it in a corner of the basement and I water it every other week, but I do not a lot, and I don't look at it. Like, I leave it alone.
Not giving it the eye.
Yeah. If I loved it, then it would up and die, but I ignore it, so it's okay.
Okay. So what are you reading now?
Right now, I am reading a book written by a high school friend of mine, and her name is Papatia Buchak. And she has a first name that we never called her by. So I will continue to forget it, but we called her Pop. And she wrote a book. I discovered it the other day in our library, but you can't get it out because I'm reading it. So you have to wait. And it is called, wait, I have it.
We have props.
I have props, yes. It is called The Trojan War Museum and Other Stories. And so it's a collection of short stories. It is beautifully written. I have only just finished the second story, but I am enjoying it thoroughly. So props, of course.
So what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a librarian?
Well, I would say you really want to enjoy books and be happy talking about books. And be happy talking about books you loved and books you didn't love. That would be my best advice.
I do get the sense that, and I have watched that you all do a lot of readers advisory at the CERC desk. I mean, we do it at Reference, but you guys definitely, you get questions about what should I read next?
I know, and sometimes I think, oh, you would hate what I'm reading. So you have to have things in your head that other personalities besides your own would enjoy. But I do like advising people on what to read.
Yeah, I do too. I really do too. And lastly, what do you like about serving the patrons in this community in Haverford?
Well, my sons joke that it allowed me to meet the 25 people in Havertown I didn't know. So no, I truly know everybody, but I don't, of course. I like talking to people who may or may not be my literal neighbor, but who are all my neighbors, the wider community of the library, whether they're from Havertown or the next town over or the next town over. I like I like engaging with that part of the community that I may not see on my own.
Oh, Megan, thank you. That's I feel like I know you a lot better, even though we work together. So thank you very much. So that's the end of Lunchtime with a Librarian. We have been with Megan White Marley today. She is a library assistant and works at our CERC desk. Lunchtime with a Librarian will continue in November. We will be doing an interview on Friday, November 20th. So be on the lookout for that. And we are really grateful that you have joined us today, and we hope you all have a great day. Bye.
Goodbye.